Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Mr. Haring. Councillor Taylor. Oh, God, I keep trying to put my freaking mask on. It's one of those blonde days. Oh, here we go. Can you call to order the District of Clearwater regular council meeting for Wednesday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. Are there any late items? Oh, sorry, no, I'm gonna do the chair. I have to do this in order as it appears on the agenda. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're fortunate to be gathering together on the unceded territory of the Símpcwemc people who have been caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Are there any late items that anybody would like to add to the agenda?
Yes, we would like to add a notice of intent for a development permit variance for the DCC.
Okay, and that,
Sorry, the
that will,
DLCC.
that'll go under other business 22A. So notice of intent. And you should have maybe received that by email or it's on desk there. So. Okay. It came from Michael Penny at 9:18 this morning as an email. So check your email boxes for that. So adoption of the motion to adopt the agenda with late item. Moved by Councillor Sim, seconded by Councillor Frizzle. All those in favor? That passes. Thank you. Item 5A is a ministerial order that we're not meeting in person with public in place for right now. I'm not going to read that. It's on the agendas. Adoption of the minutes. Any errors or omissions? If none, move in second. Hey, moved by Councillor Mackenzie, seconded by Councillor Haring. You froze in time for a second there, Councillor Haring. All those in favor? And that passed. We do not have the development folks online here. I was going to move item 17 up, but we'll just keep going on our regular agenda as presented here. No unfinished business, no public or statutory hearings, no presentations, and no delegations at this point. I'll start in the mayor's report, but if we do get to development services online at some point early in the meeting, maybe we'll skip them up to the front, just because it's nice to get them on their way for the day. So mayor's report, obviously attended UBCM for a couple of days, some good presentations there for sure. Really miss not doing the in-person coffee table chats where you actually learn things and solve all sorts of problems by meeting people from other jurisdictions that have the same issues as us. Did special and regular TNRD meetings, a lot of TNRD meetings over the last few weeks and a couple more to come in the next week or so here as well. Joint Services Committee meeting, good conversation with Director Schaefer and her team. Did 2 mayor's vaccine update calls as mentioned earlier. Northern Health, there was a group call with all the mayors in Northern Health this morning. The situation up there is very dire, but it also seems to be creeping our way south. Obviously, you've been reading a lot in the news about the issues with Interior Health and Royal Inland Hospital. So good thoughts and get vaccinated. I'll be doing the spelling bee tonight, and I've spent a lot of time in the office, this office and online at the TNRD office over the last 2 weeks. That's my report for now. Councillor Banford is away on medical. Councillor Frizzle.
Thanks, Mayor Blackwell. Am I on? Can't tell. Can you hear me? No? Yeah. Okay, I was also at the UBCM. There was a lot of interesting discussions, learned a lot of things about what happened during the heat wave, how bad the housing situation is throughout all of BC. Yeah, it was a good session. I think, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I just wanted to let everybody know we're having a Mansheds meeting tomorrow to see the interest and getting that going, and that of course it'll be outside on the field out here because of course COVID is among us. So hopefully we'll be able to get that going this time around. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Haring.
Yeah, so I attended UBCM as well. The resolution session I thought went quite well in terms of how the voting was structured. But aside from that, I was a little disappointed, like you mentioned, Merlin, with the lack of conversation that was available. A lot of the questions that you could actually ask presenters were limited to one sentence, which, I mean, try and ask a meaningful question in less than a tweet worth of characters. It's very difficult. The housing session I found particularly interesting, just the level of crisis we're facing across the province, and sort of, I found anyways that the responses that they're advancing to those crises are fairly limited. And the federal government's role is one that really needs to be revisited. So hopefully after this election, that'll be something that gets taken to Ottawa. Aside from that, just having lots of conversations with people around town, and housing is the top of everybody's mind. I've talked to a few people now in the last few weeks who are longtime residents of Clearwater, who are looking at moving in the next 6 months because they don't have essentially, they're either in unstable housing, things are changing for them, or there's just nothing available on them. But that's all I've got for now.
You got the gist of that. You buffered a little bit at the end on your last comment, but yeah, I'm hearing the same things around town as I think, yes, watching everybody shake their heads around the room on the housing crisis issues. Pip Sutterby finally, I believe, managed to secure a place. So, but with a lot of frustration around that, and she's been one of the ones that's been most vocal to me, anyways. But we all have people. Councillor Mackenzie.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Blackwell. Not a lot to report for me in the last couple of months. Work has demanded me much more than I've ever had to deal with there in the last 10 years. So a little bit of AWOL this summer for me, but thankful that I work with a great team that could cover and fill in when I couldn't make it. And unfortunately, hadn't been able to make it much in the last couple of months. So not a lot to report. Echo Councillor Haring with the housing and daily COVID talk, shot talk with this mandate coming in. I know we're mandated by November 1st to all have our shots, or a feat to see, and you won't have a job after November 1st. So it's a hot topic in town, all over the place. Other than that, a couple shout outs. One to Councillor Sim for her work for Easter Seals. Awesome. No, that was a good job. You're braver than myself. Yeah, it's a balance. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Councillor Sim for her work with the fundraising for the Easter Seals, and also for staff at Dr. Helmeken with the shot clinics and our emergency room shutdowns and everything else that's gone on in the last couple of months. Just good to go in there and still see that our locals are still keeping a smile on their face despite what's going on through these times. So it's good to see. They deserve it, and hopefully there's an end in sight.
Yeah, no, it's tough times for sure. And yeah, you jumped off the same building, the exact same building again?
Did. Context, I rappelled down a 23-story building.
Yeah.
And my team raised over almost now $14,000.
14, nice.
Good, you guys.
Councillor Taylor. Yes. Oh, no, it's sorry, it's Councillor Sim. I thought you were talking, so I thought that was your story. But wait, there's more.
So yeah, so I went to, and also the support locally. So, very, very kind to have support for something like that. So wonderful. I want to do a staff shout out for getting the arena up and running, and curling is going to start. Fitness classes, Councillor Frizzle and I attended last night, and nice to see some new faces and get out and about. Also was very pleased to have met the 2 doctors who have arrived into town. So one of the things that we're going to do is I wanted to have like an open house as part of my job capacity. That's not going to work under COVID. So we're going to do a tailgate, and I'm going to just basically drive them around, be able to introduce mayor, council, RCMP, fire, to do that. That was great. UBCM was really, really good. Who doesn't love Rick Mercer at the best of times? The forestry session, did anybody attend that? I wondered if it was possible to get a copy of that session to share with their forestry working group. I'm not on the forestry working group, so it may be old news to them, but I thought that it was interesting.
We can actually I think
It's
it's online and
it's
I think we
online
can
right
show
now.
it it's online for 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I wondered
So,
again, so
yeah.
that's my question to staff. I thought there was a lot of good information there to share. I also, in spirit of Raise Your Reader, which is today, they are another organization that's likely been hard hit by, the COVID situation. Traditionally, the district of Clearwater, we've had a book table here that's raised a little over $250. I wondered if anybody on the council would be inclined to make a motion to make a donation from the contingency towards this cause. Can we do that?
There's working back to the budget.
Oh, Anthony, yeah, whatever staff feels best. Anyway, I didn't know if anybody from wanted to make that motion.
You make that motion and I'll second it because then I don't have to cough up because I'm hosting that tonight. So
I definitely, that's a good one.
Sorry to interrupt, but Councillor Sim, I think your microphone is off. I can't hear you except faintly through the overheads.
How's that?
Much better, thanks.
Thank you. So I think that the Councillor Frizzle is going to make a motion for a donation.
250, 300, $250 for the Raise a Reader.
Seconded by the mayor.
those in favor, sorry, that's my part of the job. So
So
hard to
thank
be
you very
blunt.
much. I think it's a good cause and I'm really glad that the mayor is going to be doing the emceeing tonight. Just to finish off, I went to the grade 4 class. Grade 4 class at Raft River. And I want you to know the #1 politician that they knew was Mayor Merlin. So that was it. It was a really interesting time.
Why?
And the class was extremely interested in all the different facets that district affects their lives. And #1 topic at that meeting with those kids, roads. So, and they were fascinated to hear, how much budgets were and how much the taxes went towards it and who does the road clearing and who does this. It was really engaged. If anybody is ever asked to go into the school, do it. It is fantastic and fun. And also shout out to Councillor Taylor because she was the other one that people knew. So there you go. There you go.
It's
And I
probably
think
William's mum. That's why.
Well, I think Councillor Taylor is also there. That's what they said. So it was really fun. And lastly was attending a Tourism World Spray meeting, but we'll talk about that later. That's it. Thanks for the support to Raise a Reader.
Thank you. Yeah, they lost, they operate on Raise a Reader, just for clarification, operates on a matching fund basis. The province donates $1 for every dollar they fundraise, so they're down $50,000. 2019 over 2020, they were down $50,000 and they expect to be in the same boat this year. So anything that goes, your 250 becomes 500 or contingency or council contingency becomes. Moving on to committee of the whole minutes. Do we have?
Councillor Taylor.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Taylor. See, you all
That's
keep
okay.
talking. You keep talking on each other's thing, and I can't get your reports in because I just think it's already done. Anyways, I apologize, Councillor Taylor. Please move forward. Sorry.
That's
William's
okay.
mom.
William's mum. So that's okay. Nothing major to report. I do want to echo. I've spent quite a bit of time at the arena since hockey's been back up and running. So echo Councillor Sim's comments on great to see the arena open and the staff doing a great job there. So other than that, nothing else to report.
Excellent. Thank you. Is it because you're shorter that the kids know you because they actually can recognize you because of height? I'm sorry, that was really mean. Anyways,
Yeah, no, they connect with me on a physical level.
yeah, physical level. That's a really good way of putting it. Thank you. Committee of the whole minutes. Minutes of the Park and Rec Committee of the whole held September 7th. Recommendation. Is that Barry's?
No,
it's
that one's mine.
yours. So you actually read it out, even though I ran the meeting. So,
Okay, we got a recommendation that the minutes of the Parks and Recreation Committee of the whole meeting held September 7th, 2021 be received. Moved by Councillor Frizzle.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you. Committee of the whole reports, ECDev. Chair, Councillor Frizzle.
We had a meeting earlier today and a lot of discussion on housing and how we're going to deal with that. at this
Yeah.
moment.
Next big priority.
That's our next big priority.
Infrastructure, Councillor Banford is away, but the next meeting is October 5th. Parks and Rec.
Next meeting, October 19th.
Thank you. And then there's recommendation on that as well. Councillor Mackenzie.
Recommendation that the Community Parks and Open Spaces contract be extended by 1 year for the 2022 season at the 2021 pricing.
And a seconder on that. Councillor Frizzle seconds or Councillor Taylor seconds. All those in favor? And that passes. I'll get some people on screen for seconding on the next one. And the reason we're doing this is because we are going to, as part of strat planning, develop a Parks and Rec plan. And we need the time for 1 more year to get that done. And it was already in the contract that it was allowable to do that.
That's right.
Finance and Audit, Councillor Haring.
Our next meeting is December 7th with later in the agenda, we'll be discussing a possible early October meeting as well.
Thank you. Standing committee reports. This one's also yours, Councillor Haring. Joint Services.
Sorry, I'm just looking for the date here. Next meeting is November 8th.
Thank you. Trails Task Force, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, we were unable to meet on our originally scheduled September meeting date due to we weren't able to get quorum. So we will be rescheduling for the end of this month. Exact date, I think, is TBD.
Okay, end of this month. Thank you. And there was some grant success there. Is that public yet? Okay, we're not talking about it. But I think I just did. Sorry. God, I'm bad. Anyways, Junior Council, Councillor Frizzle.
We don't know when we're going to have another meeting with them, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't just bump it to 2022, based on
Maybe,
COVID and not being able to
And
talk to
enter the
them.
schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just, we can maybe talk about strategic planning, but even just doing a student voice around budgeting or something and just really collapse that for a while.
Something, but yeah, 'cause I know right now that they're not coming out of the school and doing things, so it's hard to set up a meeting with them.
So we'll call it to be determined, but let's brainstorm on how we can engage without meeting. Okay, cool. Everybody good on that? Yep. Forestry Working Group, Councillor Banford is not here once again. Next one is to be determined, and we're going to talk about the frequency of those in strat planning. Community Economic Development Task Force, Councillor Frizzle.
That is also to be determined, but it will be soon.
Okay. Committee representation reports. Councillor Sim, was the last tourism Wellsbury between this meeting and the last meeting, was it? That was.
Yeah, so we should be getting some minutes for tourism Wellsbury. Probably the big agenda item was discussing taking over the information center. They had a consultant report come forward, and they decided to move ahead on engaging the consultant group. So we should be seeing some different movement there. And their next meeting is going to be October 7th.
Okay, thank you for that. And Wellsbury Forest Commission, no meeting, no reports. And then Recruitment and Retention Committee, Councillor Sim as well.
Yeah, I just wondered if that's to be, I think it's the 3rd week in October.
And I think we might have to change that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So we'll work on that one. If anybody has any interest, because Councillor Sim is now basically employed as part of that. She cannot be the rep as well. So we're gonna have to figure that one out. So
Well, actually, we need to talk about that. We'll do it as the strat plan, and so we can
Okay.
figure out where the world collides.
yeah, there's a lot of shifting of committees that have to happen in
Yes.
order to meet capacity of staff and get things going there. So. Okay. Moving on to item 17A, we have the Cemetery Committee, terms of reference. And we've been pushing off, not pushing off, but cemetery committee has been a priority of council on a very long to-do list for quite a long time. We have an option that a select committee of council be established as a select committee on cemetery operations. The council adopts terms of reference for the select committee. Cemetery operations is presented, and the council directs staff to advertise for an expression of interest from members of the public interest in participating in an advisory regarding the select committee on cemetery operations. The council appoints various people, names to be suggested as council representative for the committee. So I'll let staff speak to this a little bit if they wish, but basically comments from council on this first, or questions of staff from council on this? Nobody.
Just
It is something that is dear to the hearts of a definite select group of citizens. I noticed that Drake Smith is back in town, living here full time, and I believe he's put some interest in this. So I don't think we're going to have a hard time finding 4 or 5 concerned citizens plus one of us to get on board with this. So there is a recommendation for option 1. Does somebody wish to move and second it? Or I can give you some more time to think about it.
I will make the motion. I think it's excellent that we're moving ahead on it, and I really appreciate the juggling of workload to include this. Yeah.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Sim, seconder.
I'll second that.
Councillor Mackenzie, all those in favor? And that passes. Yeah, I know that it's something that we've needed to do for quite a long time, and I'm really glad we're getting it off the ground. And to have a committee, hopefully we can get most of the thought process and work done so that we can get up and running next spring with the wishes of our citizenry on this one. I see Ms. Wallace on the screen, which is great because we're getting very close to that one. Sorry,
Is
Mr.
there an
Thomas.
appointment of a member of council?
Does anybody want to step on that one?
I would like to suggest Councillor Banford, noting that he's not here to speak for himself.
Let's just put it this way. We don't necessarily, I don't think we actually have to
Need a
in
point
this thing.
today.
So we'll put it out via email. If Councillor Banford doesn't do it, I'll take it on if nobody else wants to do it. It's a short-term select council, so it's not a long time, and it's some people that I should probably be speaking to anyways. So, but hopefully Councillor Banford will want to do that. So we'll just leave that at that. Moving on to 17B, Council Procedure Bylaw Amendment Public Notice. There is a recommendation that public notice be given of council's intent to consider amendments to the council procedure bylaw number 131/2014 in accordance with sections 124(3) and 94 of the community charter, and be further resolved that council direct staff to bring forward at the next council meeting a bylaw to amend council procedure bylaw 131 for first, second, and third readings. And we're going to do one little amendment to this. On page 28 of your agenda, item C at the bottom. Sorry if you can hear me. I'm trying. We have in that bylaw, there is a listing of how things are ordered on our agenda. Because this will interest Mr. Wallace, because we do a lot of development permits and zoning amendments and things like that. I want to move that up into the agenda to not float out there in the middle of a 2-hour meeting. And we'll bring that up right after adoption of the minutes. So that's the amendment I would like to do, is to move that up to just after adoption of the minutes. That's something we do. So that.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Can anybody hear that?
Very faintly.
Okay, my mic, sorry, my mic got, I clicked my mic off. Anyways, so on this, I would like to make an amendment to the recommendation that we add the category of developments and zoning below, between adoption of the minutes and unfinished business on page 28 of 51 of your agenda. So this is so that we can do zoning and those sort of things at the front end of the meeting, thus not taking up too much time of development services and the people that generally come to these hearings. That's a high point of interest for the days that we do them, and it just cleans things up a little bit, especially when we have a longer meeting. Okay, so I have the recommendation with that amendment,
Yes, question.
and you can ask questions of staff now.
Question. So I'm fascinated by the amendment to B by replacing section 12.2 with the following. So we refer to the electronic or communication facilities. How is this working in the new world? Like I would like some clarification on this because it seems to refer to electronic meetings. Am I right on this?
What do you mean? How is it working in the new world?
Well, so by replacing section 12.2 with the following, a council meeting may be conducted by means of electronic or communication facilities. 2, a member of council or council committee who is unable to attend at a council meeting or council committee meeting, as applicable, may participate in the meetings by means of electronic or other communication facilities. So this seems to speak to doing everything by Zoom. Is this correct?
Gives council the option of doing it. Yeah.
The option. And I guess I'm wondering at what point maybe we could all have a discussion around how we come to meet and the expectations. I'm struggling with the hybrid model all the time, but I recognize its value. And I'm wondering when as a team we could maybe sit down and discuss this and take a look, take some of the great things about it, but also maybe address some of the challenges that come with it. So is this the place for it, or we just adopt it, or I'm looking for some insight and guidance.
If you wish to clarify, I have my thoughts on it, but yeah.
Go ahead.
First off, this is to get us legal,
Okay,
to have the option to do that.
okay,
I actually have it written on the front page of my agenda that when we talk about committees, I meant to also say we need to discuss when we get to strat planning and other discussions we have, how we do meetings as far as time of day and things like that moving forward, because it does cause problems. But this is to get us legal. I believe we're operating under a temporary through the province at this point to do electronic meetings. We don't know how long this is going to go on. You know, with some of the issues that come with being a counselor, health issues, family issues, work issues, which we've all encountered over the last few months, having this as a legal option to attend meetings, I think is great. Should it be the norm? I hope not. I think that's what you're getting at.
just again, I love how you've placed it at the strategy meeting, so we will leave it there, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that. You just to have that conversation, like, what does our world look like?
As long as we're dismantling and everything and
Yeah.
and rebuilding it in a new Lego building, then this is one more that we can sort of have a brief discussion or have a meaningful discussion on.
Thank you for that. My second question is relating on page 29 of the agenda by replacing section 28.7 with the following. And I'm just wondering about reading the 3 times and getting some clarification on that. I'm not, are we reading things 3 times? Because normally it's been twice, or sometimes it's 3 times. Help me understand this one. Or a zoning bylaw may be adopted at the same meeting at which the bylaw passed 3rd reading. What are the changes and what is the impact of this?
This is how TNRD does it, if I remember correctly.
28.7.
Oh, I see.
So under the current procedure bylaw, 28.7 reads, despite section 135 subsection 3 of the community charter, and in accordance with subsection 890 subsection 9 of the Local Government Act, an official community plan designation bylaw or a zoning bylaw may be adopted at the same meeting at which the bylaw passed 3rd reading. So when I was assessing some of these particular section references in those acts, the charter and the Local Government Act, they were incorrect. And I believe we're correcting them here. So 890 subsection 9 references Local Government Act in the current procedure bylaw. is being updated to 477.6.
So I don't see a reference to 898 there.
In the
Where
current
would,
in the current procedure bylaw. So this is just the bylaw to amend the procedure bylaw.
okay,
In the current procedure bylaw, it references 890.
so this actually, this now allows council to pass things with 3 readings at 1 meeting.
It does.
The clause hasn't changed substantively. It was just citing the incorrect part of the.
Okay,
Mhm.
so,
So the distinction from my recollection, the third reading can happen, but the adoption can't happen in the same meeting.
that's what I wanted the
Mhm.
clarification. I was worried that we were now going to be able to just to push things through. So that is
no.
my key question.
No, and if there's a public in here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's a public hearing, it slows down even further. So
Okay.
there's a whole.
I just
another
wanted to
step,
make
yeah,
sure we had
yeah.
breaks in our system still.
Yes.
We
Yes.
didn't, most of these, so
Nope, that's okay. No, I'm good. I get the context in it. I just wasn't sure. Those are my
awesome.
questions.
Most of them are, you got me there for a minute, because how we do things and how TNRD do things on these readings are different as well, and I'm sure the school board has its own specialness. But yeah, my understanding, this is all legal housekeeping on the vast majority of these, to keep us all legit. Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
the table in the report actually lists the different sections and what the concerns were with respect to those issues as well. So
Yeah, I didn't understand it, so I really
Okay.
need verbal clarification, so I
No worries.
appreciate that. That was Greek to me.
sounds good.
Okay, so we have the recommendation there. If there are any further questions of council, is there anybody on screen with questions or sorry of staff on this? So mover and a seconder on the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Haring, seconded by Councillor Taylor. The online people win. I'm not actually reading this bylaw today, am I? This is just notice of this. Okay, thank you. I circled it like I was going to read it, but I don't actually have to read it. All those in favor. So we will start reading that at the next meeting, most likely. Development permit application number DP 21-01, and Ms. Wallace, you're up. Can't hear you. You're still muted. Come on, it's your turn at this time to not use your mic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully you guys can all hear me.
Clear as a bell.
So this development permit is for extending the traveler accommodation use at 57E Old North Thompson Highway. And the development permit is specific to being within the environmentally sensitive area for the painted turtle habitat. We very rarely get these DPs. I think this may be the first one in several years, but there's a proposal to basically develop an additional 3-bedroom unit and then a second building with 8 units. So 4 on the main floor and 4 on the second story. So the total footprint increase is approximately 217 meters squared. And the proponent engaged an environmental professional to do a site assessment. And basically the analysis that was done concluded that there was no evidence of any current or historic turtle habitat or habitat use at or near the proposed site where they're going to be adding the additional buildings. So based on that, staff believe that the report is in compliance with the development permit guidelines of the official community plan. And based on that, are recommending that the permit be issued.
Thank you. Further comments and questions of Ms. Wallace from council on this one? Councillor Sim up first.
With the report and noting that that property is on its own septic system, I know that there's been challenges in that area, and I'm wondering if that has been factored into this.
That would be factored in at the time of building permit. So that septic aspect is always dealt with at the building permit stage. What's required at that point is the registered on-site wastewater practitioner confirming whether the existing system is sufficient for the additional capacity, or if they have to make any upgrades to the existing system or perhaps install new.
Yeah, I guess because of the environmental sensitivity is I didn't know where that fit into the process.
Yeah, for sure. So that would be dealt with at time of building permit. The applicant did confirm all of the development would be outside of the 30-meter riparian area and would be within the existing building footprint area.
Except that their septic system is within, where's their septic system related? Like the building is separate.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that'll, like she says, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't show it on the plan. And to be honest, the question wasn't asked because that is dealt with at the building permit stage. So that hadn't been brought up. The septic isn't it's not one of the considerations within the DP guidelines. So that's why it hadn't been a question posed at this stage.
Right, so just to clarify, if I may, Councillor Sim, my understanding, the development permit allows them to go forward to design and stuff with the building permit stage, but they won't get anything approved unless they can meet septic requirements at the building permanent stage. Is that correct, Ms. Wallace?
Yes, that's correct.
So I know that this proponent, before this was put to council, I actually had to stop him from continuing to talk to me because he had been asking questions without specifying that he wanted to move forward with another development about our sewage grants. And I think a lot of the thought behind this, maybe on his, speculating on that a little bit, was the potential for development because of the sewage grant. But once he made it clear that he was actually thinking of developing further, not just servicing his existing property, I stepped away and asked him to talk to staff from that point on, and I haven't had any conversations with him. So yeah, that's where that's at this particular point. So, but yes, as Ms. Wallace said, that he'd still have to prove septic at this particular point to break the bed.
So last supplemental on that, and in the guidelines, does it ever break it down into properties that are on their own septic versus a sewage system?
No,
Mhm.
it does not make a distinction. I think just the key point in this one is that the environmental professional, Tim Panko, that was hired by the agent, he had not noted any evidence of habitat for painted turtle. If there was habitat, that's where he would then discuss like the mitigative measures. But because he notes that there was no habitat use observed on that parcel, then the septic, that just in and of itself is less concerning. Certainly, you know, we would be asking more questions if there was habitat use observed there. But in this case, the professional noted that there wasn't any habitat use on the parcel. So that just, you know, makes it a lot less concerning from that perspective. The specific policies or sorry, the guidelines, they don't differentiate between parcels that are on septic or not. They mainly speak to mitigation measures and basically also talking about the guidelines are listed there on page 3 and 4 of the report. There's guideline 1, 2, and 3 you'll see. So they're pretty straightforward. They're mainly speaking to you know, recommendations for protecting the area through building siting where those habitat use is observed on the site.
Great, thank you very much.
Any further questions on this one? Okay, I think that's good. And yes, the septic part will be dealt with at the next stage if the opponent wishes to go forward. So the recommendation is the development permit DP 21-01 be issued for the property at 57 East Old North Thompson Highway, legally described as Lot 9, District Lot 2620, KDYD Plan 8333 accept plan KAP 66618. Can I have a mover and a seconder on this one? Moved by Councillor Haring, seconded by Councillor Mackenzie. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you for your time, Ms. Wallace. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to budget 2022 timeline on pages 40 to 42 of your agenda. And I'm sure Ms. Shepherd would love to talk about this because it's budget season. Almost already.
Thank you, Mayor Blackwell. We just put this forward to start financial plan discussions because the next planned committee of the whole was not until December, and I thought we should start a little bit earlier than that. And so in the report, it talks about getting some feedback from council for capital projects and then giving staff a little bit of time to work on those business cases so that we can actually bring back those business cases on December 7th.
Okay, any questions of staff on this?
Question. Oh, but go to the screen first.
Anybody on screen first? Councillor Taylor, go ahead.
So I agree that we should definitely get going before December 7th. My only question would be what time of day on October 5th are we proposing and how long for?
Sorry, what time of
type of-
day on October 5th and how long of a meeting do you want to do as a start off meeting?
We hadn't discussed that yet, but I was hoping that it would be less than an hour. I wasn't sure if it would replace the committee of the whole that's on October 5th or be in addition, but it would be great to have it all fit within the 1 to 2 that is normally scheduled for committee of the whole.
Okay.
Because we are doing a lot of that conversation, I believe, next week.
Okay. So at this point, we're hoping to schedule it in sort of after a very short infrastructure meeting, or we could schedule it in at say 3:30 on a regular council meeting, one of the two. Thoughts, comments?
Either or.
It's not a formal meeting, so doesn't necessarily have to be put into an agenda or anything. It's not a public meeting. We don't have to do notice or anything on it. It's more of a workshop, correct? No?
So
I believe
Councillor Taylor, being the past chair, I would certainly value your attendance there, but I know that you work with your day. What would work best for you?
Yeah, there's certainly some days where committee of the whole just doesn't work in my timing. And if you want me in person, that's even more challenging. After council meeting would be better, or an alternative day. I think it would be very hard for me to add in ahead of the council meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 o'clock. Let's do 4 o'clock, scheduled for an hour. And if it runs shorter, then we're done. How about that? Everybody okay with that? I'm seeing nodding heads
go
on
for the
most
5th.
places.
Actually,
Okay.
that works much better.
Okay, so let's schedule it at 4 o'clock.
To clarify, Mayor Blackwell, we had intended on having it as a formal meeting,
Oh,
a formal committee of the whole meeting as opposed to just a workshop.
Okay, so we'll call it a secondary committee of the whole meeting for that day. Okay, thank you for the clarification on that. Good. That checks off a box.
I also had one other question, is in the discussions around the budget process. I know that as a new municipality, we've kind of, tried to work along through our budgets. Would this be the budget where we might do a 5-year budget?
Would you like to discuss that at that meeting?
Well, and has it been raised or is it something we could, I just look at for the next council and for me, I'd really like to gift them a less stressful first term. Anyway, maybe we could discuss it, but by the look on your face, it looks like you've already thought about that.
There are a few things we have thought about, including budget philosophies, the structure, the format, which I think would lead into that discussion on October 5th.
Great, thank you.
Okay, where was I? I have no idea. Anyways, there was a motion for that, a recommendation for that. And so it was October 5th, 4 PM is the new recommendation. Mover and a
So moved.
seconder, moved by Council Mackenzie, seconded by Council Frizzle. You're too slow on the screen. All those in favor, and that passes. And then the last thing on this section is item 17E, which is recruitment and retention committee update. I think we're on a little bit of a hiatus there because Michelle Stutter's on. Okay, meeting October 14th. Yeah, we'll work on that one. And that's Michelle Stutter, I believe, is on holiday, so that's part of it. We have no bylaws. Moving on to correspondence. This has gone everywhere in the province to every municipality and regional district. The regional district of Mount Waddington donation to Lytton. The basis of the letter is basically $1 donated from, it started with regional districts, so it's now gone down to town, $1 per every citizen donated to a Lytton Recovery Fund. It's a decision of council, but you can read the letter on page 45 and 51 of your report. Thoughts, comments? My initial thought is I'm not 100%. One, Lytton is moving at a very slow pace on being able to rebuild. I would much rather have a fundraising event in the spring that we can incorporate as a public thing, maybe do a barbecue, have the giant pickle jar, let people know what the donations are for and let them donate as citizens, other than just handing over their tax dollars. I'm sure most citizens would agree with a donation like this, but I'd rather let the citizens have the choice on that. And it seems to be snowballing faster. And I had this conversation with other mayors and they somewhat feel the same way. Other comments from anybody else at the table?
I
Councillor Sim first?
really like your suggestion about maybe just waiting to see the needs of the community as it emerges. Like for example, something that I think would be valuable is they don't have a clinic now. So they have to have somebody who attends to them remotely. And so there's a divided thing. So I think as the needs and the dust settles, that's the better way. But I'd really like to be thoughtful and purposeful in where support is and allowing people to come out of free choice and spearheading that. So thank you, Mayor Blackwell.
Any other thoughts, Councillor Frizzle?
Well, I think if we do that too, then we find that there'll be more money going to them than just the dollar per person. It's quite generous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so we're just going to table that. No action on that. Correspondence items. Stop me if there's something of interest to you here. And Thompson Nicola, item A, Thompson Nicola Regional Building Inspection Services, ambulance paramedics of BC. Ooh, yay. Let's hope it works out as well as it looks like it's supposed to for us with 24, with an upgrade of service. A lot of very happy mayors in British Columbia with the response by government to that. Letter from Honorable Mitzi Dean, Minister of Children and Family Development, Foster Family Month. Item 21, there is a notice motion, Housing Needs Working Group, tabled and brought forward from June 25th. We dealt with this earlier, so I don't think we're going to move forward with this recommendation as it sits at this point. But we will bring the whole housing needs discussion to the Economic Development Task Force. And then item 22A, there is on your table, there's a notice of intent with a recommendation that council issue a notice of intent to consider approval of development variance permit number DVP-21-02 for 209 Dutch Lake Road, Lot A District, Lot 3851, Kamloops Division, Yale District, Plan 10898. So maybe staff could just clarify on what that's about so everybody knows.
This is in relation to the chip silo that was burned down.
Okay.
And the DLCC is owned by School District 73, not the district. We're leasing it from them. And so the district will be acting as an agent in facilitating the process. School district will still have to sign off on the development permit itself, but in order for us to rebuild that chip silo storage unit, it needs to comply with the district's bylaw. Unfortunately, it's about 1.5 meter from the setback. So we need a variance for that.
Okay. So any further, any questions on that? I think this is kind of funny because this is the kind of thing we inflict on other people on a regular basis, and now technically we're inflicting on ourselves. So there is a recommendation. Would somebody like to move and second
move.
that? Moved by Councillor Mackenzie. Somebody online, put your hand up for the love of God. Thank you, Councillor Haring. All those in favor? We do have an in-camera meeting today.
Mayor Blackwell,
Oh,
could I just
sorry.
add one
Yeah.
more thing just on the correspondence? And I'm just wondering if maybe mayor and council should send a letter of congratulations to our new MP.
I can send a card if that's on behalf of all of us, if that's okay.
However it works, I
Yep.
just think a little acknowledgement and an
Yep.
invitation to come meet us might.
Yeah, I've reached out and he's acknowledged already, so
Oh,
we're
good.
good, but I will send a formal card because I think it's a big deal.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations to all those. We had an amazing slate of candidates running in this riding this time. It was pretty impressive. Okay, motion, we have a recommendation to move it into camera that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to sections 91C, E, G, and K of the community charter to discuss matters relating to labor relations or other employee relations, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality, and negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of municipal services that are at the preliminary stages and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Mover and seconder on that one, please. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor, stick your hand up, Haring. Thank you, Councillor Haring. All those in favor. We will close this meeting and either you have a Zoom link. We'll come back at 3 o'clock. That gives you 9 minutes to go to the bathroom and shuffle your papers. See you in 9 minutes. Thank you, everyone.